Bom dia, ou boa tarde, ou boa noite. That means good days, or good afternoon, or good evening in Portuguese. Because today we are going to talk about Brazilian music. And of course, Brazilian music is something huge. Imagine the time and so many units that we dedicated to Mexican music. With Brazil would be more or less the same. Brazil, culturally and musically, is like several countries in one, with at least 5 or 6 very different regions and sub-regions. We cannot cover all the immense wealth of the Brazilian music, but Brazilian music has been one of the powerhouses of the last 2 centuries, and we need to dedicate some time to understand what happened with Brazilian music. Essentially what happened is something similar to what we saw in Cuba or what we saw in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. It's the mix of the European traditions, the African traditions, depending on what region, the native traditions, and of course, many other traditions that came later from all over the world. In Latin America, we have an expression that was originated in Brazil, which is cultural cannibalism, but in a positive way, as the capability of absorbing and digesting any cultural product that comes to you, integrated that into your own culture, and with that creating a new style, a new product, a new way of doing things. Then Brazilian music. Probably you know samba. Probably you have heard of samba, the great carnival music from Brazil that became later music for the all year around. Probably you heard about capoeira, the great folk music and martial art slash dance from Bahia. Probably you heard about bossa nova, or probably you heard about Caetano Veloso, or Gilberto Gil, or Milton Nascimento, the great contemporary singer-songwriters, or the great Tom Jobim, Antonio Carlos Jobim. All of that we are going to cover in this class, but of course, you need to remember that there is much more information about Brazilian music that we cannot cover in the class, but we are going to give you links and hints, and if you like Brazilian music, you can go and learn much more about other styles and genres of Brazilian music. This is the surdo, the bass drum of the samba school, essentially, and you are going to see a great demonstration by one of the best baterias in Brazil, but I wanted to show you one in person, a bass drum. There are at least 3 bass drums in a group in the bateria of a samba school. If you are the first drum, what you play is only the one. In samba, is 1, 2, 1, 2, and you're going to be playing just the one, and in the 2, you're going to muffle with your hand. You're going to be playing. If you are the bass drum number 2, you will be playing only the 2. 1, 2, which is opposite to the other drum. If you are the third bass drum, the third surdo, you are going to be doing something a little bit more complex, more syncopated. And then when you have all these 3 bass drums going together, if you don't dance, I don't know, there is no hope for you. I wanted to show you another one of the drums in a samba school, the repinique. It's a middle-sized drum. It's very important, and they hold the role. After you have all the surdos doing the basics, the foundations, then you have the repiniques, and there is a huge difference in the range of the 2 sounds. These are brilliant drum, the famous repinique for a Brazilian samba school. This is a cuica. This is the more interesting instrument probably in the Escola de Samba or Samba school. It's a friction drum. You need to have a piece of cloth that is wet. You grab this stick inside of the drum, in the friction. This is a low pitch cuica, especially for a big samba school. Normally you play a smaller cuica with a higher sound. And in a minute we are going to show you inside of the drum, and you can see what is in there. Now you can see the interior, and there is that stick that is glued in some way to the skin. And what you do is you have a piece of cloth that is slightly wet, and you grab it here. And that's the Brazilian cuica. This is the last instrument of the arsenal of the samba school that I want to show you. Is the cavaquinho. The cavaquinho comes from that family, huge family of guitar-like instruments. It was made or evolved from some small Portuguese instrument brought in the 16th, 17th centuries. And now it's a very important part of the samba school and the samba music in general. Has only 4 strings, a very piercing sound, and you are going to see some videos, and you are going to listen to some great cavaquinho players and singers as well, accompanying themselves with the cavaquinho. This is a Berimbau. This is a very simple instrument, but very ingenious. And this is the main instrument for the capoeira music. This is a tradition that came from Africa to Brazil, came from Angola. And this is a bow that has a cabaza and a piece of string that divides the wire in 2 different sections. One very short, and then has a high pitch, and then a long section with a lower pitch, of course. Then in your hand, you use a stone or some type of iron washer, and with that, you modified the sound. And then you can have open sound, you can have muted sound with a stone, or you can make like a scratch sound by hitting the wire very close to the stone. And also you modify the sound by moving the instrument in this way. You do like a wah-wah effect. And this is a really simple stick. And what I have in my hand is a caxixi. A caxixi is a type of maraca that you use in your pinky just to make the sound more complex. The wood is kind of a tricky thing because it needs to come from Brazil, because it needs to be biriba. Biriba is a bush. It has the right flexibility and sonority for a berimbau. But the biriba is becoming more rare in Brazil, and then it's more difficult to find the real birimbaus, but the berimbau is a real cool instrument. This is a post-industrial Berimbau, and I am always amazed how cultures find ways of recycling even the waste and the garbage of the industrial society to reproduce and produce elements linked to their own culture. And this is a Berimbau made with aluminum tube in a can, in a piece of wire, and it sounds really cool. Post-industrial Berimbau.